Howdy, friends and floorheads. Tonight, we start a game of Cthulhu Dark. It is the definitive, streamlined game to play out horrific tales where the characters will not emerge the same if they survive at all. Like most cosmic horror tales, it does not bode well for our main character. Cthulhu Dark is a creation of Graham Walmsley. If you listen to my Tabletop Talk podcast, you can hear my interview with Graham where he uncovers and explains where this game came from. This play is based on a Call of Cthulhu scenario called Of Fathers from the Miskatonic repository. You'll notice, if you're familiar with Of Fathers, that I've made major changes to it, but you should grab it on Drive-Thru RPG. It is a phenomenal one player, one GM, or one keeper scenario. Before we begin, let's take a glimpse at Chicago a month before we meet up with our protagonist. It's going to be in the same city, the same year, but 1 month before we start. Somewhere in Chicago, January 1926. The overhead lights hum, flickering faintly as if uncertain it should stay on. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the floor, bending around stacks of old books and piles of loose paper. The air in the office is stale, and the scent of book dust, old coffee, and academia. An older man sits at the desk, one hand resting on the spine of a cracked, leather-bound tome. The other hand traces something, slow, deliberate, into the dust beside a brass paperweight. Symbols, curves, slashes, but definitely not letters. One sleeve of his shirt is rolled back just enough to reveal a thin leather bracelet, worn smooth with age. A pair of old-fashioned wire-rimmed glasses slide down his nose as he leans in closer, not bothering to push them back up again. Now outside, the quad is silent. The hour is late and the students are back in their dorms or hitting a party with illegal spirits. A clock ticks with a sour sound. Something somewhere, maybe that's a radiator groaning. The man mutters under his breath, syllables shaped from a tongue not spoken aloud in many, many years. And his voice doesn't echo, it sinks, vanishes into the room, as if the walls are listening and choosing not to answer. A candle burns beside the book. There's no reason for it. There's electricity. And yet he lights another identical candle. Then another. 3 flames surround the tome. And the air shifts. The ink on the paper glistens wet, though no pen sits near the desk. Something creaks above. The building is old, but that wasn't the building. That was something else. He doesn't stop tracing, and he doesn't flinch. The final phrase leaves his lips. It should be nonsense, but the sound of it settles heavy into the bones of the room. The candlelight bends inward, the shadows ripple, and the dust curls. He looks up, his eyes no longer reflecting the candlelight. In them is a reflection of a man with deep-set eyes and chalk-like skin. And outside, the night is frayed from the ripping. Attention, brave viewers. This video features adults immersed in a spine-chilling horror RPG experience. The content likely includes supernatural elements, horror-related events, and potentially scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy. All right, so we have a new face on the channel, but with a very familiar name. So Craig is a local here in the Triangle area. Craig, are you ready to play some Cthulhu Dark?
I am.
Okay, let's set the scene. I want to welcome everybody to Chicago in February of 1926. The Windy City is shrouded in a blanket of city-stained snow as it exhales smoke into the cold air. From the train yards to the lakefront, winter has settled like ash in the lungs. Streetcars groan down iced rails, newsboys shout through wool-wet scarves. The city is a cold engine of wealth and want. The affluent Kenwood neighborhood, stone-faced and proud, maintains its separation from the rest of the city and the nearby university. In this quarter of Chicago, the air tastes orderly. There are no clanging signs or shouting drunks, just the slow crunch of tires on salted streets and the distant whistle of a southbound train that sounds tired. The homes here are old and watchful. Behind high windows and limestone facades, the men of finance take supper and keep their secrets. In Harold Brown's household, the kitchen is uncharacteristically warm for a banker. Light from a hooded bulb hanging over the stovetop, casting long shadows that smell faintly of smoke. The stone of the house sweats with heat, sweat that feels like fever starting but not breaking. There's a roast in the oven, something domestic and unexpected. A framed photo of the loved but long deceased Doris Brown rests on the counter. Her glassy gaze, sharp as vinegar, watching over the husband in her old kitchen. And this kitchen is large but sparsely adorned. The counters are clean and the utensils are orderly. A single black skillet hisses on the range. The scent of garlic and browned meat cuts through the usual polish of lemon oil and old paper. The aroma is loud and slightly afraid. Joseph, you sit at the small breakfast table tucked beneath the frosted window. You're still wearing your coat, the city's cold clinging to your sleeves like static. Behind you, the ticking of a mantel clock paces the silence, measured and anxious. It's been months since you visited your old home. Your father, Harold, stands at the stove, his sleeves rolled up, his tie still on, his back straight as always, and he stirs the pan with a clinical precision. Uncharacteristically, the radio is off. There's no sound but the sizzle of the food and the slow breath of a house that tastes like memories. Joseph, I appreciate you coming over tonight. I know that you're usually really busy working on stories.
Well, it's the only way to pay the bills sometimes.
I know it's been a while, and I just I've been thinking about things. Been thinking about you. Thinking about Mother, and I fully expected you not to pick up when I called.
I think we're all each other's God anymore. Have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I don't want this, Joseph, to be somber. Tell me what you're working on.
Oh, well, let's see. There's some scuttlebutt recently about maybe some underhanded some dirty pool going on with the White Sox. No, all unsubstantiated, but people are getting suspicious. They're on a winning streak, and Yeah, people think it's too good to be true.
So I think the two of you have a little bit more small talk, Joseph. He pulls the roast out, he slices it. He's also has some potatoes and some asparagus, and he brings over a plate. As is typical for your father, everything is neatly placed, orderly, almost designed on the plate itself. He puts it down in front of you. He puts his plate down in front of himself before he sits down. You notice the third chair has never been removed. Um, and there's something else, I think, in this kitchen, more than the picture, more than the empty chair, that reminds you of your mother. Can you give me a sense of what that might be?
She collected salt and pepper shakers. And so the windowsill over the sink has them, ceramic, all different types. Some maybe there was a trip to New York City, so one of them is shaped like the Chrysler Building. Maybe um, you know uh, Raggedy Ann and Andy. You know, just odds and ends, but and it was never more. It was never a like a grab to get as many as possible. It was always the ones that really struck her fancy. And so they've sat there. They have not been touched.
Yeah, and I'm imagining, Joseph, that the kitchen does look different. You can tell that your father Harold has gotten some new appliances, maybe upgraded the counters since you lived here. But I love the idea that those salt shakers, almost like it was rebuilt under the salt shakers.
Yep.
They almost like
Mhm.
they've never moved.
Yeah.
He tries his best to have just light talk with you. You bring up baseball. Maybe he talks to you about baseball and jokes about whether he should stop betting on the Sox or not. Tries to keep it light, which I feel like has been an encapsulation of the relationship you guys have kept easily over the last decade or so.
Right.
It's been 20 years since your mother died. As he's finishing up, he starts cleaning the table, lifting up the plates. Starting to get a little late. Instinctively, he knows what you drink, so he puts that in front of you, which of course speaks to his privilege and his access, and his wealth. The fact that he just has good booze here in the house.
I stopped drinking that stuff, right, Dad?
No, Joseph, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. Here, let me get it out of your way. I should have known that.
Got to keep a clear head.
Yeah. So I've retired last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it was my work at the bank that stopped me from being the father I think I should have been. But I think I also provided for you. You got a good education. You've always had food.
No doubt about that.
But it's late. There's some things about the future that I want to talk to you about. But quite frankly, I need a clear head. And incidentally, Joseph, he's been sipping all night, as is normal. You're telling that he might be a little bit buzzed. I don't know if you work on Saturdays, Joseph, but could you come by in the morning? There's some things I want to show you, some things I want to talk about, things that kind of set the future for the entire Brown clan.
You realize we could have had dinner like 2 hours ago and we could have done this tonight, right?
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like I wanted to reconnect first. I wanted to see you without it being about business and changes and things like that. And I understand if you're busy tomorrow,
No,
and you
no,
can't.
no. I'm thankfully one of the perks of this job is the flexibility.
I appreciate that, son. Um, yeah, just if you want, just come by the morning. The staff.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? You find a place downtown, makes a good cup of coffee. We'll get coffee, get eggs, pancakes, the whole shebang, and then you can tell me all about it.
That's great. How about Jay's? Do you just want to meet at Jay's
Sounds good to
about a
me.
block from
Yep,
here?
perfect. Yeah.
7 a.m.
Oof. Can we make it 8?
Yeah, yeah, 8 works.
You need any help cleaning up?
No. I've got this. I'm gonna do some more reading. I think, and probably go to bed. I've got to get up early now too. Not as early as I planned, but I'll make sure
Says
that
that for a retired man.
it's an adjustment, son. It's gonna take me a little while. It's hard to go from working 70, 80 hours a week to having nothing and an
Fair
empty
enough.
house.
Well, make sure you get some rest, and we'll 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 continue this in the morning.
What degree of affection is there as you're leaving? Is there any? Is it a handshake? Is it no contact? What do you think happens as you leave?
I think it's a hand on the shoulder, and I think that he's the one. Dad is the one that leaves, goes to leave first.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Joseph leaves first ultimately. Maybe there's a little bit of awkwardness there, but there's a hand on the shoulder and a look, and Joseph just walks out of the kitchen and into the family room.
He opens the big door for you. It's obvious, and this was typical. It was very important to him to have the staff have a Friday night and a Saturday off. So normally there's Janice is the woman that kind of has been taking care of the house and him since mom died. She's elderly. So normally she would kind of not escort you out, but accompany you as you would leave. But it's your father this time, and he just gives you "I'll see you in the morning" as you step out.
Yeah. I want to say that there's some sort of adventure radio serial that Joseph is fond of, The Shadow or Doc Savage or something like that that he wants to tune into.
So before we cut to tomorrow morning and meeting at the
Mhm.
coffee shop, I'd like to get an idea what Joseph thinks about dinner with Dad.
Oh, it's part of him is confused
Mm-hmm.
because this seems like it came out of the blue. Um, it it has been so long since they saw each other, mostly because of Dad's work, and it's always been that way, and it's always been something that Joseph has just sort of accepted. So maybe there was a groundskeeper who was a stand-in father figure more so than Dad. You know, the guy that he played catch with. Um, you know, taught him how to ride his bicycle, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was established relationship. It was understood. It was okay. This is how things are going to be. That's fine. You're providing. You're you know, all those things are great. I get the you know, mom provides uh, the love and affection, and everything is understood and everything is very cut and dry. So for him to, I mean, the talk about wanting to go about the future seems understandable considering the fact that he's retiring. Maybe it's okay. Got to get your name on the will and go over stuff like that. Maybe add you to a safe deposit box or something like that. At all, but the way it was laid out, this late dinner and everything is like, what? This is really unusual.
So unless there's something you want to do, I'm happy to cut to tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I mean it's late enough. I don't think there's anything. Maybe like I said, he listens to a radio serial and then goes to bed.
Beautiful. Get up, head over to the coffee shop. Small place, kind of a boxcar styled coffee shop. It's longer than it is wide. There's a counter up front, a few tables outside, which of course are not being used with the cold weather. You go in, the smell of that coffee is familiar. This is where your father would go in the morning on his way to the bank. And it always felt like his jacket would smell of that coffee, even when he came home, because he would drink it throughout the day. You look around. There's a line of about 3 or 4 people in front of you. You can see the entire place, and you don't see your father. And it is 8:00, which for your father is, if he said he'd be there at 8 and he's not, he's late, right? You knew he would be there at 7:30 because of just who he is.
Did I hear any movement or any kind of activity in the house as I was getting ready to leave?
No.
So the staff has been given the weekend, and the only other people in the house were me and Dad.
Exactly. Yeah, there was no indication that he wasn't, as described, alone.
I'm gonna look over the counter and shout for Stan and say, "Hey, Stan, you see Pops at all today?"
Joseph!
That's me.
You lost some weight.
You want to give me some free pancakes?
No, I don't. As a matter of fact. But they working you pretty hard over there at the Daily News?
Sun never sets on the Windy City.
No, I haven't seen your dad. But it's Saturday. He only comes on his way into the office.
Yeah, I don't know. We had dinner. You know what? Forget it. You take care of your customers. You don't want to hear my sob story. When you're ready, I'll have 3 scrambled and a black cup and a short stack.
And he takes care of everybody in front, but he pauses to get that order in, putting you at the head of the line by orders. You go up, you pay. Eating here?
Yeah.
So by 8:30,
especially since I'm waiting for my dad, who's now late.
Yeah, by 8:30, you finished up most of your plate. There has been people coming in, people coming out, and no sign of Dad.
Okay, well, this is a real interesting way to start off a new chapter. I guess once I'm all done and I've paid and tipped, then I'll take a cup to go, keep me warm on the way back home. And yeah, it's a Saturday. I mean, it's a Saturday in the wintertime. Maybe catch a double feature. A Saturday matinee, somewhere indoors, somewhere that might be warm. Maybe the paper might look for a movie review, something I can hook onto. But
sure.
Otherwise, I feel like it's probably going to be a quiet day. And the fact that Dad has yet to show his face is, I guess, if I haven't, I guess until let's say So I'm going to give him until about afternoon. He's
Mhm.
got business. He's wrapping up stuff at the bank, whatever. He's making this transition to retirement. Um, who knows? Um, but after that Saturday matinee, I'm going to go home. And so I guess the house is still empty.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's have you heading toward the theater, right? So you're still in Kenwood. That's where
Okay.
where the coffee shop is. It's about a block from the house.
Mhm.
Um, your father's brownstone mansion um, is on the way, so you actually get to pass by.
Right.
And as you're walking, we're going to do our first roll.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
let's talk about mechanics here. So
Okay.
Cthulhu Dark has a very simple character creation. So for Joseph Brown, we just had to come up with the name and the occupation. So it's obviously Joseph Brown and a reporter for the Chicago Daily News. And there's only 3 types of roles in this game. One is an investigation, in which case we are trying to glean information about our surroundings. This is a role that cannot be failed. You will always succeed. It's just a degree of how successful you'll be. Second type of role is called other things. So anything else that Joseph wants to accomplish where the potential of failure or degree of success is interesting, that is done as an other action. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on what that looks like when we get there. The last little piece is what's called an insight roll. So, in virtually what Craig has in front of him is he has 2 dice and a third die, which is a different color. And we're calling that die the insight die. Now, currently, Joseph, you have an insight of 1 out of 6.
Mhm.
At certain points, we might require that you roll your insight die. And that's going to happen if you encounter something that is shocking to your brain, right? Scene of violence, or something scares you, or something is unsettling, or a glimpse into the world being more than you realized, will cause me to say we need to make an insight roll. In which case, you'll roll that single die. And if you roll above your current insight, which is now 1, then your insight will increase by 1. When that happens, what is happening is your mind is opening up to a bigger part of reality. Once you get to an insight of 6, by each time having to roll an insight roll and roll above your current insight, which means when you get to an insight of 5, you have to roll a 6. When that happens, you lose control of your character after one last action, right? One last moment before you have completely glimpsed beyond the veil. You see the world as it really is, not the reality that you have always assumed. You've stepped closer and closer to having that level of open mind to the universe, and then you'll lose control of your character. So for the investigation,
Mhm.
you get 1 die for being a human being. So by
Mhm.
default, you're going to get 1 die. Then you get another die if we can justify your occupation or who you are and what you do as helping in this situation. And I think Craig will definitely get your occupation die here because I'm looking for your level of observation. I think
Okay.
as a reporter, your attention to detail, I would
Mhm.
imagine being part of your job. So on your character sheet, let's click on investigate. Don't roll anything yet, but you're going to check your human die, check your occupation die. But you'll notice there's a third checkbox, and that is your
Mhm.
insight die. So you have the ability to risk your mind to be successful, because what will end up happening is you'll roll all these dice, we'll take the highest die, and that'll
Mhm.
determine the degree of success of this investigation. Now, if that highest die is your insight die, that's also going to trigger an insight roll. So my
Okay.
first question is, do you want to risk your mind for this investigation?
Is that a player question or is that a character question?
That is probably a mixture of both. That's an excellent question, Craig. I think it's a mixture of both, which is, and generally speaking, it's a matter of urgency. It's a matter of how important this is. what you're doing is walking down the street, just casually looking over at your dad's place as you're walking by.
That I don't think it makes sense to risk it yet. I
Okay,
think
great.
this is just a dad being dad moment, and uh and it will sort itself out by the end of the day, kind of thing. So now I can go ahead and roll.
Yeah, let's roll your 2 die. We're going to take the highest of the 2. So your highest is a 4, which is you're going to get whatever a competent investigator would discover. Now, one quick warning. The best you want to roll on an investigation is a 5. A 5 will
Okay.
give you everything that you possibly could know, plus a little bit more. That's just you having a moment of keen observation. If you roll a 6, you're going to get a spectacular result, because not only are you going to see everything a human being would notice, but you're going to see more than you wanted to. And then
Gotcha.
if you roll a 6 in an investigation, it'll trigger an insight roll. But this is great. 4 is a phenomenal roll. As you're walking by, you're going to notice, I got to give you a couple things for that 4. One, lights are off, which the angle of the sun right now doesn't provide a whole lot of light in that front bay window. So it's probably a little odd that the lights are still off. 2, it didn't snow last night. So what is left is the snow from the day before, the morning before, Friday morning. You can see your footprints down the steps, down the small walk to the gate. You can see where you swung the gate open last night and closed it to get onto the sidewalk. But you see something else, other footprints that weren't there last night. And
were they there when I left this morning?
They, I don't think you walked by the house this morning. So they
I
weren't.
left the house. Oh, okay. So
This is your father's.
I'm sorry to just right. This is my father's house, but I have my own place.
Yes, you do not live with your father. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have clarified that. Yeah, you don't live at home.
And that's fine. I mean, I could have been visiting him there, any number of things, but okay.
Yeah.
So this is me seeing the house in the morning the following day.
Correct.
After so I left my own apartment, went to the coffee shop.
Correct. And last night you left your father's place and went to your apartment, right? Which is
so did not see these.
Yeah.
Did not see these footprints.
Yeah, and you don't live in this neighborhood. I think you're moderately successful as a reporter, but you do not have the kind of money to live in this neighborhood.
Are they boot prints? Are they bigger, smaller than the others?
So they're smaller, and because you rolled a 4, I'll tell you this: they're slightly smaller, and it's difficult to tell what type of shoes are being worn. They're kind of dragged almost. So whoever it was kind of dragged their feet a little bit, which kind of smeared the imprints it made on the snow. So I think it's difficult for you to tell whether it's a man or a woman's footprint. You can just tell it's a little bit smaller, and you don't get a sense of, shoes, boots. It's really difficult to tell because they were kind of, I don't know, drunk or something. They were sloppy as they left the house.
Right. And one more thing. Is it 4 or?
No, I think that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
What I don't know is if that changes your travels.
Well, no. The only thing if I'm leaving the coffee shop, walking past the house, seeing all this, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could have been a visitor that didn't know the routine, my dad's routine. It could have been. I still feel like there's not enough here for warning lights to go start going, or red flags to start raising up. So, for now, I'm just going to go and do what I was originally going to do, which was I'm going to head to I'm going to head to the local movie house, and catch a matinee, and then if when I by the time when I'm finished at the movies, then I will go back to his house
Great.
and see
Great.
if he's gotten home.
So you get back to the house. At this point, it's almost identical to the way you left it. The only thing different is that there's light that is shining into the main sitting room, the main living room. There's curtains are drawn as per normal, so that's not odd. But otherwise, no additional footprints. Nothing changed from before the movies.
Okay. I guess I would have a key.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'm gonna just go to the door and knock.
So you go up, and he has a bit of an obnoxious knocker on the door, and you rap it a few times, and there's no answer.
I'll try one more time. Still no answer.
Nothing. No, but I will tell you this. You can tell the deadbolt is not on. Because if the deadbolt...
The door rattles a little bit.
It rattles a little bit, right? Which means the deadbolt is definitely not latched.
But there is a latch. There's a latch because I can't open. I mean, all right, I guess that's two different things. So I wrap the knocker. I feel the door rattle. I know the deadbolt is not turned. So I will try the door.
And it is unlocked, which your father would never, ever do.
Okay, that's a problem. I am going to, before I go into the house, is the mansion the only house or the only building on the property?
It is.
Okay. So there's no guest quarters or a gatehouse or anything like that. Okay.
No, not this close to the center of the city. No.
Okay. I am going to walk around the perimeter of the house, and I'm going to look for any other signs of foul play, forced entry, break-in, vandalism, anything like that.
Yeah, and I don't think I want to roll for this because this is a situation where I think you have time, you're very focused, you're very specific. So you do the 360, right? You go all around the house, starting with the front door. So there's no signs of a crowbar or a break in the door frame or anything giving a sign that someone broke in through the front door or anything like that, right? So everything looks normal there. As you're walking around the house, curtains are still closed on every window. No windows are broken. I mean, we're talking, if you went to the movies, you saw the 10 o'clock, we're getting to like 12, 1 o'clock at least, right? It's early to mid afternoon. Especially in your
those curtains would have been drawn, would have been opened.
I think imagine. So, especially in your dad's study, because, on a Saturday before he retired, maybe this has changed, I don't know, but before he retired, not only did you not see him during the work week, but on the weekends, he would get fresh coffee, might have breakfast, usually maybe before you even got up. And every once in a while, your mother would have you run coffee to him during the day, but he was a reader and would just sit in his study. And I think that's what tips you off more than anything you've seen, except maybe those extra footprints. Something's wrong here because Dad would have the curtains open, so the light would come in and hit his desk. And what you expected to see is the back of your father's chair, but all you see is closed curtains.
Right. All right. Well, as long as I don't see anything else that's amiss on the exterior of the house, then I will open the front door and I will go inside.
So you open the door. You go inside. You can see your father's hat and jacket hanging on the door tree, right by the front door. From there, you can immediately see to your right the living area. the sitting room, he would call it, which has the huge
Mhm.
bay window that looks out over the streets. And there's nobody there. Um, as you continue to walk in, you smell dinner from last night. So
Mhm.
you can still smell the food.
Right. Uh, is there any sign that he just completely spaced out and just came to the kitchen and made himself coffee and had toast and just completely forgot about last night?
So you go to the kitchen. There is no smell of coffee. And he left the roast out last night. It's still on the pan, on the range.
And I mean, I would imagine he'd be the kind of person that would. I mean, I I guess his staff might be the ones that would have been, let's take this and let's put it away. Let's put it in the refrigerator so it doesn't spoil, et cetera, et cetera. I don't even know. I don't even know at what point you would have had electrical refrigeration or not. But
Yeah, I honestly don't. I don't know if they have ice boxes back then or not, but
I,
yeah,
I, anyhow,
even
I
even with
imagine there would have been a way to try and preserve leftovers like that.
yeah, and he would have tidied that kitchen. So even when the
Right.
staff was out, yeah, your father would not put up with clutter.
Mhm. And so is how many stories is the house?
It's 3 stories.
Okay. And his study is on the second or the third story?
It's on the first floor, so
Oh,
just
it's on the
past the
first floor.
kitchen. Yep. It's
Oh,
it
okay.
takes up about the most of the back of the back right
Uh,
of the house. It's one of the larger rooms of the house.
right. So I take it that he was never a harsh man. He was incredibly introverted and
Why are we talking about him in the
intellectual.
past tense?
Well, as a child, I mean, because
I'm kidding.
that's what I'm trying to.
It's
That's
just
what
a
I'm.
joke. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just I guess what Joseph is doing is he
You're
is
remembering.
like he's remembering and he's trying to use his memories to make sense of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, I was never not allowed in his study. He wasn't one of those kind of fathers that's like, close the door and how dare you interrupt me, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, um, so and mom was basically was the just the pinnacle of the housewife of the always pleasant and always cheerful and would you be a dear and go top up dad's cup, that sort of thing. um so it's not like he'd be afraid to go in the study. It's not like he would be like, oh, I'm having traumatic flashbacks of
Right.
and how dare I mess with his things or anything like that. So I'd also imagine that the door was open and he'd rarely have a reason to close the door. So
Yeah, and which is why it being closed is odd.
okay. Well, is it? I'll check the door. I'll check the handle. Is it locked? Does
No,
it?
in fact,
Does
it doesn't have a lock on it. Never
doesn't
did.
have a lock on it? Okay.
Yep.
Then I will open it.
So you push the door open to the study. I think it's the smell that hits you first.
Mhm.
It's a combination of iron and smoke. Something burnt beneath, kind of a metallic taste, almost.
Like what I might recognize from the production floor of a newspaper.
No, I think more like a crime scene.
So like gunpowder.
Um, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know, and I think the metallics smell. Well, let's talk about what you see. So
Okay.
the study itself is dim. The curtains, of course, are drawn. The faint light from the hallway is casting shadows as you open the door, and everything is unfolding in front of you. You're seeing, in many ways, the study that you've always known. The tall bookshelves, your father's large mahogany desk that takes in the light from the outside. Your father's there in the center of the room, face down.
Mhm.
He's twisted on the floor. One arm is outstretched towards the fireplace. The other is crumbled beneath him. And his body is soaked in blood. You can immediately tell he's got multiple puncture wounds on his back, cutting through his shirt into his abdomen. It is soaked the rug under it. It has soaked his white dress shirt. He's looking at you as you open that door, and his face is frozen, and it's an expression you've never seen your father have. It's raw. It's pure animal fear that's just frozen on his dead face. It's not only the blood, it's not only seeing your dead father, it's not only seeing that he'd been stabbed multiple times by something, but it's the one wall next to the fireplace that doesn't have books on it. You see reddish symbols that are drawn on the wall by something. Long arcs, circles, what looks like maybe somebody was drawing eyes. It's hard to tell. There's a lot of slashed lines, but it's definitely a design, and you can tell it's been drawn hastily because it's sloppy. It's not precise. Yeah,
So you said it was the wall that has no books.
correct. The only wall in the entire study that is not covered with a bookshelf, and it's just to the
So
left of the fireplace. Normally, there's a painting there. You can see that the painting has been set aside and is leaning against the bookcase next to it.
so it was taken off the wall.
It was.
Does this symbol mean anything?
I think before we do anything, I need an insight roll.
Right. And I figured as much, but I wanted to stay in the fiction.
So let's do that insight roll. Your insight is 1, so you roll a 1, you're okay.
So I click insight roll.
Yep.
Okay.
So here's my question. Your insight
Okay.
does not increase.
Okay.
Joseph Brown has just walked into his childhood home, into his father's sanctuary, to find his father violently murdered with strange symbols drawn in blood on the wall. How is it that you are keeping yourself together?
I think it's confusion more than anything else. I mean, it's just so random and so out of place, and who, like, I mean, who it's almost like he's falling back on the reporter, the 5 questions, and
Right.
he's just trying to hit the highlights of the story in order to be like, it's just a profound sense of confusion, because like, who would be so put off with my father to want to murder him, and to murder him so violently?
Yeah.
It's not like somebody shot him. It's not like, he wasn't mugged in the middle of downtown. There was no forced entry. There was no no physical foul play. So whoever this was knew him. He opened the door. He let them in. What did he get mixed up in? What are all these symbols? Is the red marks his blood?
Let's do an investigation roll.
Okay.
So I do want to answer the question I interrupted, though. You asked me whether
Sure.
those symbols looked at all familiar or anything. They do not. I think even without this investigation roll, you just notice that they are you can tell that they were drawn hastily.
Okay.
It was not something that was painted by a brush by an artist.
Right.
You could also tell that it's obviously is blood,
Mhm.
and appears to be as old as the blood that's soaked into your father's clothing and in the carpet
Okay.
as well. So let's see what we can glean.
And we
As we kind of,
resolved everything from from that insight roll. What that was.
oh yeah, you rolled a 1, and your insight is 1, so your insight did
Okay.
not increase.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where the question of how the hell are you keeping your shit together came from.
Right. Right.
So let's do the investigate. So again,
Okay.
we do the roll. 1, you're human.
Mhm.
Again, I think your occupation comes into play here, especially when we talk about why you're able to keep yourself together. It sounds like
Mhm.
you've gone almost procedural at this
Yeah.
point. I do want to ask though, do you want to risk your mind for this role?
I'm going to, yes.
That makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So good news is your insight die was not your highest die.
Right.
Bad news is it was a 6. Your highest is a 6. So you are going to owe me an insight roll in a little bit. So because you're going to see more than anything, but I'm going to give you everything.
Okay.
So Joseph, as you look around, I don't know if it is just the fact that the color and the age of the blood on the wall so closely matches the same blood that has stained some of the wood past the wood flooring past the rug in the center of the room. But you have no doubt in your mind that's probably your dad's blood, as far as the symbols that are drawn on the wall. You also notice cuts on your father's arm. So there's the multiple stab wounds to his torso, but you also notice small cuts on his arm. And without touching the body, you notice that those don't seem to be like defensive wounds. They are, some of the symbology on his arm matches what you see on the wall. You see footprints, the faintest sign of them. It looks like a little bit of blood was carried out of this room. And I mean, with a 6, I give you everything, right? So you can tell this person was barefoot. So
Oh,
after
they are feet prints.
they are footprints, actual
Right.
footprints with your father's blood on it. And you can see them headed out of the study, but there wasn't enough blood to be able to carry the footprints beyond that. So you look towards the end of the open door and you don't see any other footprint, blood stains from footprints, but you can see a toe and a little bit of the knuckle of the foot there. You can tell whoever this was not wearing shoes, and they are small footed. So I think it's easy to line it up to the footprints you saw in the snow leaving the house. What else can you pick up from this crime scene?
Is there enough of footprints to say where they headed? Did they?
Yeah, for a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a 6, I think definitely. So for a 6, I think that you can tell that they went left, which means they were either walking towards the kitchen or the front door.
Okay.
Just by the angle that it looks like they exited the study.
Right.
Was
anything taken? Does anything look out of place as far as his belongings? Anything that was important to him? Are there any books missing from the shelves? Any drawers in the desk open?
Yeah, let's talk about the state of that office a little bit. So again, this is the same investigate roll. You are standing, you're not touching or moving anything. You're just taking this all in. Really no sign of a struggle, right? So it's not like his desk has been riled through. Everything is in order on his desk. Your father did keep a freestanding full-length mirror in his study. And often just to check himself. He would get up at 6 a.m., get coffee, do some work at the house, make sure he looked good, and would leave the
Yep.
study and go to work. That mirror is there, but it is broken. It is the only sign that you can see that something other than your dead father,
Right.
some sort of violence happened potentially here. That mirror is broken.
Does it look like? How is it broken? Is it like a single point that's is it shattered into a million pieces? Is it a single crack?
No, it's shattered in a million pieces. Some of those pieces are on the floor.
Okay.
Some of those pieces are on the floor. Yeah, I think that's where we are. So let's talk about the 6.
Okay.
As you kind of take it in, you look at the mirror, and you kind of go back to the symbology. You realize that some of those symbols might actually be letters. And as you kind of have to step back a little bit to take in the whole scene, you look, and awful penmanship. This is why you didn't pick it up as a sentence at first, as a series of words.
Right.
You see 4 words that are obviously written at the very bottom of the symbology.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "Blood opens the gate."
All right. Well, I'm not going to waste any more time. I am going to call the police.
Yeah. So he's got a phone in the study. You walk over, you pick up the phone, you call the police. Immediate, because of where you are,
Right.
the phone is picked up immediately.
What did you say the name of the neighborhood was again? Fernwood?
Kenwood.
Kenwood.
Yeah. Very, very affluent area of Chicago in the 20s. Still today too, I believe. Yes, yeah, of course, yes. They don't even ask for the address. As soon as you say, "I'm Joseph Brown and I've found my father," and they go, "Harold Brown," and you're like, "Yes," they know the address.
Yeah, and also I would say who I am. I would say I'm a son of Harold Brown. There's been an accident.
Perfect.
Please send someone over as soon as possible.
We'll send some detectives over immediately. As you hang up the phone, the front drawer, the wide drawer at the very top of the desk, is slightly open. Again, uncharacteristic
Right.
of your father.
Yeah.
And as you look there, this is an extension of your 6. I'm going to give you 2 more clues. One, you see a sealed envelope, and it's labeled Gray, as in the name Grey, and under it says Regenstein Archives. You know that those are part of the library of the University of Chicago, and that's sealed and kind of half out, but still present in the drawer itself.
Okay, yeah, and the fact that a drawer is open and that the contents are not stuffed in there neatly is unusual. I'm not going to touch it, though.
Yeah. You hear a rap at the door maybe 10 minutes later.
Okay.
Detective Simpson. I assume you're Joseph?
That's me.
This is
gonna
Detective
have to prepare
Harris.
you. Yeah, gonna have to prepare you for what I found, and I'm just gonna step aside and just let them do their jobs.
Yeah. So the 2 of them go in, and you see their reaction once they get to the doorway. And before they walk in, he goes, "You said an accident?" That's what dispatch told us.
I really didn't want to. Whoever was on that call on that phone, I really didn't want to alarm them. I'd much rather you guys see it for yourselves.
Have you gone in this room?
I have.
When did you arrive?
About 30 minutes ago.
All right, you stay right there, and he kind of just gestures for
Mhm,
you there.
mhm.
And you
The
know,
only thing I touched was the front door and the door to the study.
just don't go anywhere. So Harris and Simpson walk in. You can see they put on some black leather gloves as they go in. While they're in there, are we doing anything?
Um, I'm going to write. I'm going to take out my notepad from my jacket pocket, and I'm going to start making a mental list of everything that I noticed.
Ah. So Harris comes out, who seems to be
Mhm.
the lower of the two detectives. Simpson seems to be the one
Yeah,
that's running things here.
yeah,
Harris goes, Mr. Brown, do you mind coming in?
certainly.
When you get in there, you can see that the other detective has put your father on his back.
Hmm.
You can see no wounds on the front of your father. It looks like all of this violence happened at his back.
Hmm.
Um, Simpson, who's on one knee and kind of looking things over, he goes, do you live here?
No, I have my own. I have my own apartment.
When was the last time you saw your father alive?
Last night, had a late dinner.
You were here last night.
I was here last night.
I can tell by the blood that your father died last night.
Must have been after I left. I was supposed to meet him for coffee in the morning.
And when you left, your father was alive.
That's right.
And is there anybody who can account for your whereabouts after you left here last night?
No.
Do me a favor and sit. And he points to
No.
kind of a side chair here in the study.
Mhm.
What are you writing down? He says to you.
Just making a mental list of everything I saw in the room when I walked in.
Can you give me a timeline? Also, jot down a timeline while I look this over.
Sure.
They're whispering. The two detectives are obviously having a conversation and saying things to each other that they don't want you to hear.
Hmm. I'm a reporter for the Daily News. Here's my press credentials.
Uh, that's fine. Yeah, trust me, we're gonna have lots of conversations. Lots of conversations.
That's fine.
Um, you hear the front door open,
Mhm.
and immediately Harris says that's got to be the coroner. And a man comes in, and he's got a body bag.
Mhm.
Um, and he starts to lay the body bag down and starts to move your father's body into it. Um, like 2 or 3 minutes later, oddly, another man walks in, and you didn't hear the door reopen. So
Mhm.
this man must
He
have come
left it
in with the
open.
coroner, right? And didn't immediately come to the study.
Right.
He is very well dressed. Um, he has a tailored suit. He's got what appears to be a very expensive silver lapel pin. The hat he wears is wide brimmed. He's got strong brow and sunken eyes. You almost can't see his eyes between the shadows off of the brim of his hat and the brim of his and the depth of his brow. Um, Immediately, both Harris and Simpson kind of pull back as does the coroner goes, oh, Captain. Um, let me bring you up to speed. And the captain goes, are you Joseph?
That's me.
Gentlemen, can you give us a minute? Of course, Captain, of course. They quickly leave.
Caldwell, is it right?
No, but just sit right there for me. And he walks over to your father's desk and kind of leans against it, standing. Oddly comfortable, considering everything.
Yeah.
And he hasn't taken his eyes off of you, though you've yet to see his eyes.
Mhm.
You notice he's very pale.
Mhm.
He doesn't pull out a pad of paper or anything. He just leans against the desk and he goes, "We got ourselves a bit of a problem here, don't we, Mr. Brown?"
I mean, that's as plain as the nose on our faces.
Your
When I
father's
thought my
dead.
dad, when I thought my father was late for coffee this morning, I just thought he forgot.
Is that typical of your father?
Not at all.
I asked my detectives to leave
I
because I want to
noticed
talk
that.
to you one-on-one. I knew your father.
Wouldn't doubt it. He had a lot of friends in high places.
And usually we don't have a whole lot to worry about here in Kenwood, and having a violent crime like this happening in this neighborhood.
Well, it's
Well,
clear whoever did this knew him. I mean, they let him in. He let him in. There was nobody broke in.
I appreciate your attention to detail, Mr. Brown, but we're going to let the police do the policing, okay? I need you to just answer my questions. It's going to be very, very simple. And I'm going to be very blunt with you the same way I'd be blunt with your father. This is not going to be publicized. This is not going to be in the papers. But because of my relationship with your father, it's important to me, and I imagine important to you, that you have justice.
Uh, that's 100%.
I don't know why, but I am very confident you didn't kill your dad.
I'm glad to hear that. But you talked about the detectives like they were the police. So where do you come from?
I'm the captain. This is not my only jurisdiction.
So he's dressed in plain clothes. He's not dressed in a uniform.
Correct. Nor were the detectives,
And the
right?
other detectives, nor the detectives are in plain clothes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These aren't coppers, right?
Right. Captain.
I appreciate you're a reporter, Mr. Brown. Just need you to listen for a second.
I'm listening.
Because of my relationship to your father, this is going to be a top priority for me. But I need to know that you're willing to work with me.
It sounds like we have the common purpose. It would be nice to know at least your name or a name. What should I call you?
You'll work with me?
I'll work with you. Unless you give me a
And,
reason to think otherwise.
well, there'll be payment for that, and we can discuss that later, depending on your results. But I want you to know that I will get you justice.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, you're the one to mention it. I didn't even. But yeah. You have to understand just how all unusual this is. I mean, how this, none of this makes any sense.
You have no idea. And
Clearly.
a lot of things happen at once here, Joseph. A lot of things happens here at once. As soon as you agree and you say this is unusual, and he says you have no idea, the shadow coming from the open curtained window which was not opened, and you have not seen anyone open it. The daylight coming in, you see his shadow enlarge and start to take up the room. You also instinctively look down and see the cut on your hand. And as you're starting
But
to
I
take,
don't remember. But I don't remember cutting myself.
as soon as you start taking that all in, you get a pungent smell in your nose. Just a kind of reaction. And you're slumped in that chair. And Detective Harris and Simpson are there. Your father is still in the middle of the room, but there is no body bag. Mr. Brown, are you okay?
I know.
You passed out, sir. You passed out. We didn't intend to grill you like that enough to make you faint. Can we get you some water?
Just coffee. But where's your captain?
Sir?
Your captain. We were just talking a minute ago.
Simpson, get him some water. We're going to take a 10-minute break.
Okay.
you can see the smelling salt in one of the detective's hands, and that completely makes the smell that you had fill your nose. Makes sense. You ask about the captain, and they both kind of look at each other and they say, "Captain's back at the precinct."
He was just here. I mean, he didn't. Well, at least I thought he was. I mean, I've never met him in person, but I said the name Caldwell, and he didn't. He didn't. He didn't deny it.
Sir, I think you've been through a lot. Captain Caldwell has not been here. Um, uh, the coroner is. We're gonna get your. The coroner should be here any second now. We'll get your.
Wait, he didn't come. He's not here already. He was here.
Would you get him some
I mean,
coffee or something?
I thought he came awful fast, but. And then I have this. I cut my hand somewhere, and I don't know when that happened.
So you look down, and your hand is cut. And the detective goes, "Jesus!" And he pulls a handkerchief out of his suit pocket and puts it on your hand. He goes, "What? When did that happen? It looks fresh."
I don't know. It wasn't cut when I came in when I came back here this an hour ago.
We're gonna do another insight roll.
Okay. So when I do the investigate, that's when I have the chance to choose the 3, but the insight is just
the die by itself. Yep.
Got it.
All right. So that
now,
automatically.
As soon as I clicked it, it ticked up a second box.
Correct. So your insight is now 2.
Okay.
So what I want to get a sense of is what's happening in your mind, right? Things are escalating in your mind. You are not as stable as you were before these smelling salts were put under your nose. I'd like to get a sense of what's happening in your mind, and I'd also like to get a sense of what the detectives are seeing.
I mean that veneer of the methodical is just starting to spiral, and it's this again. It's like one thing that doesn't make sense on top of another thing that doesn't make sense. My hand was cut. It wasn't cut before. This captain shows up out of nowhere. Don't you understand? He's gesturing. He's like, don't you understand? Like, I'm not losing my mind.
We're not saying that, sir. We're not saying that.
I just sat here and talked to somebody in a really fancy suit, and he asked me, and he told me he'd get justice, and talked about payment, which also didn't make any sense at all.
Sir, you've been through a lot, sir. You've been through a lot. Keep this pressed against your hand. That should stop the bleeding. It doesn't look very deep. We're going to go ahead and get your father back to the precinct. I think we'll probably do an autopsy. And
I should hope so.
I guess
but
maybe.
Don't you realize this has got to be somebody that he knows? He let them in. Our dinner from last night is still on the stove. He didn't even put it away.
Was your father's door locked when you came in? Do you have a key?
I don't have a key. No, the door was not locked. I told you, all I did was open the handle. I wrapped on the wrapper. I didn't touch anything else. I opened, and the door to the study was closed. He never kept the door to the study closed. I used the handle to open the door to the study.
And you see Harris standing there. Simpson is the one that's kind of tending to you, and Harris is back there, and he's furiously writing. Simpson turns to him and goes, "Harris, you getting all of this?" You go, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm getting it all.
Somebody moved the painting of the lake house and put it aside, and then all this gobbledygook on the wall and the footprints. Did you see them?
He looks down and he goes, no. Simpson, call down. We're going to need a photographer too. And he looks and he goes, so you're saying the painting of the lake house there, that's normally on the wall?
The wall.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he hired a painter to come out and paint it special because he wanted to get the cabin in there. He just renovated it, and uh, it was like late spring, and uh, everything had melted, and the sun was out, and he called in some favors to get that picture painted.
I would like to just quickly flash to a memory that you have. And I want you to flash to a memory of that lake house. And the things that I want you to remember is that was the place where you always felt the closest to your father. You would go fishing on the lake together. Mom would always come out, and it was the rare times that the three of you had no books to be read, no papers to be filed and written and studied, where he was mostly present with you. And I think that flashes into your brain as you look at that.
So I think he fashioned himself a John James Audubon, yeah, Audubon, the Audubon Society, you know, and so yeah, our family vacations to this lake house were his way of decompressing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we went there and we fished, and he sketched with charcoal, just the trees and the shore. Then the lake house was not ostentatious by any stretch of the imagination. It was fully functional, fully featured. Maybe he would order 4 or 5 days worth of groceries to be shipped out in advance, and no staff, and it was just the three of us. And I also imagine that Joseph was an only child too.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
And it was probably the considering the time period, it would make the most sense to what he would do to decompress, to get away from the hustle and bustle of finance. I mean, you're talking about 4 years before the crash, so I mean, things must have been, in the business world, must have been absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
But he as much as he loved, and he was very much an amateur when it came to the sketching and whatever, he wanted that panorama captured by somebody who was a professional.
Yeah, I'm also imagining he had sketched it many times and then just finally said, I want this truly captured.
Yeah.
What I want to do now, Craig, is kind of montage a little bit. But as I do this and describe to you things that are happening, at any point you say, hey, I want to do something, right? So I'm not running here. You interrupt me. But I'm imagining the coroner does show up. The same man that you saw the first time. They put your father's body in there. A photographer is coming and taking pictures of everything.
And the look on his face, on Joseph's face, when the coroner comes in, is like, what? Like, you were just here. But he doesn't even, at this point, there's no point in even trying to say these things, because he knows that it's completely lost on the detectives. So it's like,
it is at this point, they're writing all of this off to you fainting, you finding your father dead. One thing,
grief.
Yeah. And at one point, something that's interesting is, Simpson says to you, obviously you need to stay in the city, but we don't need to talk to you until tomorrow. So if you don't mind coming down to the station, we just want to interview you, which tells you that they don't suspect you. Right. And if they thought you did this, you'd be in handcuffs by now.
Right.
Why that isn't very clear, maybe. But they don't seem to be suspecting you at all.
Okay.
They take your father away. You get some condolences from Simpson. He gives you his card. He said, hey, my best guess is this was a bunch of kids some teenagers. I want you to think about for tomorrow people that
That's not. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
well,
If it was teenagers, they would have broken windows. They would have thrown a brick through a window. They would have been. They would have. They would have messed the place up. They would have vandalized. That this is not.
it's definitely odd, sir. It's definitely odd. If you just do us a favor, before you have a chance, when you get a chance to come in tomorrow, just tonight, just think about maybe people that would want to hurt your father. You mentioned that nothing's been taken.
I haven't spoken to my father in 2 years.
The best you can, sir. The best you can. Nothing you said has been taken. We went upstairs to the bedroom, and we're not seeing anything rifled around there either.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get up that far yet.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just coming in the morning tomorrow, we'll just need
Sunday?
to. Yeah, we'll just need to. I'm sorry.
You're going to be there on a Sunday?
So this is a murder investigation, which doesn't happen very often here in Kenwood. So yeah, I'm going to be a very, very busy man. And if anything pops into mind, just jot it down for us. And yeah, we'll see you in the morning, sir.
Okay.
And they leave. It's now approaching evening, and you are in this house alone.
And it's a Saturday night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's been 2 years since I talked to my dad, then I wouldn't know any of his recent associates. I wouldn't know anybody. Maybe somebody at the bank that has been there for a long time. Maybe his, I don't know, what was he at the bank?
So he was an investment banker at a private firm. He was a partner in that firm. There's 3 partners. He was one of 3.
Did he have a secretary?
Yeah. He would have had an assistant.
Okay. Do I have a way of contacting this person?
I don't think you know who it is off the top of your head. I think you do know that, he would have one.
Okay. And they have offices in downtown?
They do. They have offices in downtown. Might be stuff in, there might be things in the study that could potentially give you that information.
Well, I definitely want to, yeah, I want to look at the, now that the detectives are gone and the coroner is gone, I want to look at the sealed envelope.
Let's go over to there.
Okay.
Do you sit down in your father's chair?
No.
Okay. So you're standing there. You pull the drawer out and you pick up the envelope, which is sealed, and on it says Gray, Registine Archives.
Handwritten or typed or?
A handwritten.
Okay.
Handwritten.
And how is it sealed? Is it like one of those like is it like an inner office type of envelope where it's got the twine?
No, it's more like a regular, like one you would mail.
Okay.
And you can tell there's something in it.
Okay.
You pull it away. There's a picture under the envelope. It's a picture of your father with 2 people you're not familiar with.
Photograph?
It's a photograph, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of 2 people you're not familiar with. There's a woman. She seems to kind of have her head turned. She's got gray hair. You can't see her face. And then a man maybe in his 30s. Looking at the photograph, you see the University of Chicago seal that's kind of back and behind it. It looks like maybe in a ballroom or some sort of event center. Okay. But you open the letter and it is handwritten. It says, Harold, your question has an answer, but not the one you were hoping for. You are in danger. Come alone.
So no postmark on this envelope. Nothing. Just 3, literally just 3 words. The word Gray, Regenstein Archives, handwritten on the front, and then just a like a piece of note paper on the inside. No letterhead, anything like that. And it just says
a personal note. Yep.
Yeah. You're and not no identifying mark, no name on it or anything. Okay.
No, the only name is on the front.
So Gray, do I know anybody Does that ring any bells for me?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. The only thing that rings a bell on all of this
Is the
is
Registry and Archives.
Registry and Archives being a part of the library at the university.
Okay.
And then, like I mentioned the picture already.
Well, if it's late, I don't know. I almost feel like I should probably stay here. I don't know why. I think that Joseph. I think that Joseph has the thought crosses his mind. Well, I should probably stay here.
Okay.
Not necessarily knowing why, but nevertheless thinking that he should stay. But I mean, he's not going to do anything more than just grab a blanket and a pillow out of a hall closet and just sleep on the couch.
What I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is I want to do one more investigate roll to kind of cover what do you pick up right this evening. Is there anything else that you find in the study now that you're kind of poking around and you're alone? Your father's body's not there. Your heart rate has dropped back down again. You don't feel that that taste of the adrenaline anymore in your mouth. I think it's going to, again, be human. Definitely the reporter is still in play here. We picked a good profession for you. And then I have to ask the question of whether you
actually, you know what? I would go so far as to say that maybe this is not a reporter situation.
Fair. Yeah. And maybe to the point where you're so just out of sorts that, yeah, I'm good with that. So let's just use
I'm going to risk my mind.
All right, let's risk your mind. Let's add that insight die. All right, so you got a 3. Okay. You're going to get the bare minimum. Now, here's something I should tell you. You do have the option of always re-rolling, right? And you've already used your insight die. You can re-roll. You just have to give me a sense of what you're doing different, right? So I'm imagining what you're kind of doing is you're saying, hey, I'm exhausted. I've been through a lot. I'm going to go grab a blanket. I'm going to go on the couch and I'm going to fall asleep here in Dad's
I think place. All of that is almost like automatic. I think that it's, there's no real conscious thought. It's just, I should probably stay here and grab, like I said.
Do you think there's anything that would trigger you to pay more attention or to do a little bit more investigating to justify a re-roll, or do we want to stand here?
No, I'm going to stand on.
All right, beautiful. Yeah. And your insight die was not your highest die, so this does not cause an insight roll. As you're leaving the study, you look back down for just a moment at where your father's body was, and it's his entire torso is oddly still outlined by the fact that he was blocking the blood from soaking into that part of the rug,
right? And
the cuts on his arm, you can still see kind of the form of where his outstretched arm was, based on just the silhouette left from the blood that was coming from those symbols that were on his arm. You also find about 6 strands of hair near where his hand was. And they're long black hair. And in these days, a man would never have hair that long.
Well, that makes sense. Like putting the long black hair together with small feet. I mean, that his assailant must have been a woman. What was I just about to, something just, I don't know. I'll think of it. Something just, I thought of something that I should ask and I forgot. So.
Well, I'll be here when you're ready. I don't know how much you eat, if at all. There's definitely food in the house.
Oh yeah, but I don't think he's hungry. He may have had popcorn with the movie, but you know.
Sure. You curl up on this couch. Might be a place. Oh, please.
Now I remember. Oh, the cut on his hand. He would dress it, wash it.
Yeah. And what the detective said to you makes sense. Like it's a recent cut. It was not very
Yeah.
deep. It was in the fleshy part of your palm, which does bleed a good bit, so it always
Yeah.
looks worse than it really is. But yeah.
Right.
Um, you curl up on the couch. Harkens back maybe to naps you used to take as a kid.
Mhm.
Um, the blanket has a faint smell of jasmine,
Hmm.
which is insane because that's the perfume your mom would wear.
Yeah.
Um, and it floods back all kinds of thoughts and memories, and you fade asleep.
Mhm.
Then you're seated at a kitchen table, but it's not here.
Okay.
But the room is vaguely familiar in kind of a
Mhm.
dream logic sort of way.
Okay.
And you can see on the counter a pan of baked fish, and you can smell the lemon and the garlic.
Mhm.
And across from you at the table is your mother,
Mhm.
um, about the age right before she died. She was a young woman in her early 30s, beautiful, long black hair, and always took good care of herself. Um, and she's serving fish to herself. And you look down and you can see, of course, she's already served you.
Mhm.
And you look over and you see your father setting down his plate of fish. And your father is in his late 30s. And instinctively, you know you're a child.
Right.
And you start to say something, but your mouth moves. You can feel the air leaving your esophagus, but you can't hear any sounds. And your mother turns to face you, but it's not her face. It's a flat white surface, like plaster has been smeared over her face and allowed to dry. And somebody has like drawn black circles where her eyes would be on this plaster. And then you look
Okay.
at your father and you realize your father has the same thing, this featureless plaster like face with these circles
Mhm.
drawn on them. And they both look at you and tilt their head. And you hear words, you hear their voices, but they have no mouths. And in unison, they say, "Don't you know me?" And you wake up Sunday morning on the couch.
And just cold sweat, startled. No real, maybe an hour or two of sleep, but yeah,
You know what I'm gonna,
fully robbed of any real rest.
yeah, you know what I'm gonna ask for, right?
Uh-huh.
Let's get an insight roll.
So, oh,
It's gonna
there we
bring
go.
your insight up to 3.
Yep.
So, what is Joseph's reaction that is causing you to escalate closer and closer to a full awakening here?
I mean, it's just more unreal, strange, bizarre things just piling on top of each other. And I mean, yeah, has Joseph had strange dreams before? I mean, has he seen dead bodies before? You know, he's covered all kinds of stories, and the city of Chicago is a strange place. Um, but the immediacy of all these things happening in such a short span of time, you know, the 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 words on the wall, the murder, the captain who wasn't there, the coroner who showed up, after, you know, the dream, all of these things just, it's it's like the immediacy and them stacked on top of each other, so close to each other, is what is so. It's like, how does this? It's all these things that don't make sense happening all at the same time, and it's like, even in a city as big as Chicago, like, it's just a coincidence that it goes beyond coincidence. It goes beyond, you know, the everyday weird.
Yeah, and this is without question the strangest dream you ever remember having.
And there were the words that they spoke together were, "Don't you know who we are?"
Don't you know who we are?
Yeah. And you'd be like, well, of course I
Or
know
no,
who
I'm
you are.
sorry. In unison, it said, "Don't you know me?"
Oh,
And it was both your mother's and father's
right,
voice.
right, 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 right. Yeah. Yeah. So he's probably at the point now where he's just like, I just, I guess the only way to try and come at some sort of semblance of understanding is to figure out who these people in the photograph are, why this person said that he was in danger. Um, but at the same time, he's got to show up at the precinct, and it's a Sunday, so chances are nobody's going to be at the university, at the library. He's going to have to wait until Monday to go and look for anybody. So um, he's like, it's like he doesn't have time to, in his mind, he doesn't have time to I can't, like, there's still a real world where this murder took place and somebody was responsible, and so I've got to tamp down all this, like,
Yeah.
navel gazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
So wake up and probably slept in his clothes. So he's just rolling out of bed and heading to the police precinct first thing.
There's no police tape or anything. You just walk out the door. You head down to the precinct. Immediately,
Would there have been because I'm thinking somebody should lock the door.
Yeah.
And also too, somebody needs to get in touch with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
Because they show up. That somebody needs to let them know that
she would be, whoever was
Janice.
Janice. Assuming Janice still works there. I don't think we even covered that with your father never mentioned it. But yeah, whoever's coming, Janice is who you remembered. Maybe 5-6 years ago, she was still working in the house. Yeah, and as far as keys, your father's coat is still hanging right there by the door on the.
I'll look for front door, back door keys, and just make sure that they're both locked.
Yep, whole keychain in his jacket pocket, so you're able to lift those and lock things up.
And I imagine that keychain feels very heavy and unusual to like the minute he locks up, all very matter of fact, and then slips that into his jacket pocket. It's all like this is mine now. I mean, I knew it was going to be mine eventually.
Yeah.
And chances are that's what the conversation was going to be. But the realization of it when that super heavy keychain flumps into his pocket, that's when it's sort of like, it's like a threshold moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely the morning after, right? The real reality starts to seep in. Head down to the precinct. Front's dispatch takes you back to Detective Simpson's office. Not an interrogation room. Simpson asks you to sit down. He kind of asks you about your timeline. Says, hey, thinking about it overnight, I agree, it probably wasn't kids. It looks like somebody tried to make it look like some sort of ritualistic type thing. I looked at the photos of the drawings on the wall.
Yeah, did you see the hairs, the long hairs?
No. What long hairs?
They were on the floor. They must have been, maybe they were underneath his body until you moved him, but I spotted it last night right before I crashed on the couch.
Are they still there?
I didn't touch him.
Okay. Maybe later on today or in this evening, we'd like to maybe come back by the scene and bag those, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that a woman might be involved here, between the footprints and now you're telling me about long black hair. Was your father? I know your mother passed a couple decades ago. Was your father seeing anybody?
If he was, he didn't tell me.
He asked you a bunch of questions. Again, no indication that he suspects you. He mentions to you that, he might bring somebody in from downtown to help, just because there's not a whole lot of murders that happen in this part of the city. Somebody from downtown, a homicide detective might be somebody.
Look for Slattery.
And he jots that name down.
Yeah.
And obviously you're open to ask him questions as you like. If there's anything you think you can get from him.
I'm not necessarily looking for answers to questions, but I just want to, it's like, I want to make a point of telling him that, we weren't just meeting for coffee casually. He had in mind he needed to tell me about the future and that he retired. And I mean, all of that seems pretty matter of fact. And that's all. It's like those things just sort of start sputtering out, and then it's just sort of like resignation.
Yeah, he says to you, obviously I'll keep you in touch if I have further questions.
Do you know? I don't know if he still has a staff or not, or a housekeeper or whatever. Somebody's got to find out and let him know, because if they walk in there and
do you know who?
It used to be Janice, but that was like 5 years ago, and I don't know if she still works for him.
Do you have a last name?
No.
Okay. Well, if you think of it, let us know. When does she due back?
He usually gave them the weekend off, so I would imagine either maybe to first thing tomorrow morning.
So why don't we do this, Joseph? Maybe meet us back at the house around 7. He gets you at your address, at your apartment, your phone number,
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing, how to reach you at the desk at the Daily News,
Yep.
and kind of sends you on your way and just says, "Hey, we'll see you later on tonight." And if you think of anything, obviously reach out. But if not, we could reconnect back at your father's tonight.
Yeah. 10-4. I mean, there's a whole day there that's just. It just seems like because it's a Sunday, it's like it's a lost day because nothing's open.
Yeah.
In 1926, nobody's working on a Sunday, and nobody's. I mean, the university. The library might be open for students.
The library definitely be open, and it'll be staffed, right? No question.
So then, if that's the case, then I'm going to go around there, and I'm going to look for somebody and ask some questions.
All right, so let's go to the university. Maybe afternoon. Takes a couple, I imagine you're spending an hour or two talking to Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
And University of Chicago is within walking distance of the precinct and of your father's. It's right on the river, and right on the lake. Sorry. The wind off of Lake Michigan is a little bit warmer. So it's a bit of a warm wind this time of year. You can see slow clinging to different parts of the quad.
Mhm.
As you kind of walk onto the university, there's these old Gothic towers that kind of loom over the entire university. It's got an entire Gothic aesthetic, and the spires just seem to be scratching the sky as you're walking through. There's students that pass you by. They're wrapped up just like you are in coats and scarves. Their heads are down. They're hugging their books. You hear a bell toll at the top of the hour. Tells you it's 1 o'clock. I think with that Gothic architecture, there's gargoyles that seem to be looming down and looking at
For
you as
sure.
you're walking.
Yeah.
They're old, they're worn. And you get up to the university, or up to the library, sorry. Large doors. They're closed because of the weather, but of course, students are coming in and out of it. An inscription above the door of the library says, "Truth is not given, it's taken."
I'm going to go in and go to the main circulation desk.
Uh, Elderly woman there, maybe in her early 60s. Can I help you?
Yes. My name is Joseph Brown. I'm a reporter for the Daily News, and I was wondering if somebody might be able to uh, talk to me about the Regenstein archives. Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, Madeline Gray keeps them down at the in the basement, sir.
Ah, Madeline. Okay, I see. Is she here today? Is she working?
She should be. I can hear, and she goes, "Do you want me to show you?"
If you don't mind, if it's not too much trouble.
She gets up. She moves slow, but at the right pace for her age.
Mhm.
Faint smell of mothballs as she's
Mhm.
walking ahead of you through the stacks, and there's a door kind of tucked back. You almost lose your bearings a little bit as you go through this winding, large University of Chicago library, and she says, "Just go down the flight of stairs, and there'll be a hallway. Just if you go down the hallway, you should be able to find the archive. And I would assume Miss Gray should be right there."
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You have yourself a pleasant day.
She gives you a bit of a smile and walks back, and you open the door, and as promised, there's a staircase. It is an older staircase, made of stone, giving you a sense of just how old this university is, how old this library is. And as you start going down the stairs, you notice that the lighting is gas, not electric.
Huh.
That's in direct opposition to the electric that's in the main library.
Mhm.
You get to the bottom of the staircase, the air is cooler. The faint smell of mold, of age.
Mhm.
And at the bottom of the staircase, down a small hallway, you see a door, and above it says "Special Collections, access by approval only."
I will knock.
You hear a voice, and it's faint, but you instinctively know it's faint because of the thickness of that door.
Mhm.
"Come in."
Is it locked?
It is not.
Okay, I'll open the door and go in.
As you go in, the archive room is quiet. Uh, Shelves are everywhere. They rise like ribs from the floor. It's got a very low ceiling. There's a buzzing, and you realize that there's a desk lamp at the far end of the room, and sitting on a
So
very
an electric hum.
it is, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
an electric lamp. And seated on this modest black desk is a woman. She's got a high collared dress on. She looks in her late 50s, and she looks up to you,
She's sitting on she's sitting on the desktop, or she's sitting in a chair at the desk.
sitting in the chair behind the desk,
Okay.
stacks of papers.
Mhm.
And she looks up. She goes, "Can I help you?"
I certainly hope you can. I believe that you knew my father. My name is Joseph Brown.
You say new.
Yes.
I know your father. Did he
Did you
send
give
you?
him this in a manner of speaking? And from my inside of my jacket pocket, I will remove the envelope and put it in front of her.
He gave this to you?
I found this.
Can you close the door?
Mm-hmm. I don't
You,
mean to alarm you. I apologize for the abruptness, but
no, no. It's if your father sent you, that's fine. I expected to talk to your father when he got this. I'm not sure why he sent you.
you told him that he was in danger, and you were right.
Is your father okay?
Uh, from a temporal, corporeal sense, I guess I should just be blunt. I mean, he's gone.
She sinks back in her chair when she covers her mouth. What has he told you?
He hardly told me anything. All he told me, we haven't spoken in 2 years. He invited me to dinner. He said he needed to go over some things with me about the future, but it would wait until the morning. And then we had a breakfast appointment, and he didn't show up. I went to the house and I found him.
And she spends almost a full minute just quiet, looking down and kind of taking in everything that you've said to her. And she says, "How did he die?"
From the looks of things, he was attacked. He was stabbed.
He was murdered?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think you had anything to do with it. I mean, I don't. Thank you.
The note. So I met your father about 5 months ago now in the fall. He asked for a book that we didn't keep up top. He said it should be in the archives here. I explained to him that we do not have any handwritten books here in the archives that
A
are.
handwritten book.
That's what he asked for. It was a. What did he say? He said it would be leather bound. It would be handwritten. He.
Are we talking about the same Harold Brown, the same man who was an investment banker who wore a three-piece suit to work every morning?
He dressed like a banker. Obviously a very educated man.
And what was the topic of this book? Did he say? What the title of the book? The author? Anything?
I'm trying to remember. He gave me the title and I looked it up in the archive. He said it might not be logged. Can you give me an investigate roll? I'll let you decide whether or if you want to make a case for your occupation die or not.
Oh, yeah. But I'm not going to risk my mind this time.
Understood. You rolled a 4. Very nice. You get whatever a competent investigator would discover. She's definitely is giving you the impression that she doesn't really know your father very well. I think there's a bit of a problem there, though, because though you don't, the woman's face was not visible in that picture.
Mhm.
She has a very tight, almost surgically positioned bun in the very back of her head. And as she turns for a tissue, as she's kind of wiping her face after just the emotional thing, you see that same bun.
Mhm. And what color is her hair?
Same color, gray.
Okay. Oh, gray. Okay, got it. You gave him this envelope.
I did. I did. I had it. Well, I didn't give it to him physically. I had it delivered to the house.
So are
I-
you? Is this you?
yes, I'm Madeline Gray. I am in charge of the archives.
No, I mean in the picture.
Oh, you bring the picture with you? Oh, I like that.
Oh, I took the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So you put
Yeah.
that picture in front of you, and she goes, "Yes, that's me."
Okay. Who is the other gentleman?
As a grad student here at the college, Caleb Wilkes. He's in the philosophy department. He's a grad student. This picture was very brief. I think it's when your father first introduced himself to me. It was a fundraiser here at the college. I didn't even
Okay.
realize they took a picture. So,
But yeah, you put it in the in the envelope.
Yeah, let me give you a couple things for that.
Sure.
That 4 things that stand out. This woman has a beautiful brooch. She's got rings. She does not have a wedding ring, but she's got some other rings, antique rings, kind of match her aesthetic. She feels like she's like 2 decades out of time almost.
So the brooch is a cameo.
Yeah. And the reason I bring up the jewelry is because she has a worn thin leather bracelet on her right hand, which stands out, right?
Yeah.
It's a bare wrist, and it is a ornament that does not fit the rest of her aesthetic.
Right.
That you notice. Yeah, I think that's what you pick up with that 4 is that it's the same woman as the picture and the bracelet. So continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But you put it in the envelope when you had this delivered to him.
I wrote it.
No, I know you wrote. I suspected you wrote it, but the picture was in the envelope.
Oh no, I apologize. The picture was not, Craig. The picture was under the envelope. So when you picked up the envelope, you found the picture.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right. So yeah. So I guess it would have just been a matter of course. Basically, I would have just grabbed the 2 things and then stuffed them in my.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Anything written on the back of the photograph?
Nope.
Okay. So this philosophy student, was he a colleague of my? I mean, you have to understand. There's so many strange things about this that I'm still trying to piece together and make sense of. And how did so this was a fundraiser? The picture was a fundraiser, you said. So then.
So your father is a patron of the university.
That much I know. He's always been, and he considered that a point of pride.
This was the first time I met him. He introduced himself to me. He came over with Caleb and introduced himself and asked if he could come by the archive, that he has a book that he was looking for.
And he knew Caleb then, so he came to you with Caleb.
I assume so. He introduced Caleb to me. I had never met the man.
Interesting. I'll have to find him. Would you be able to? I assume there's no. We know it's winter time. Is it in between terms? How, like, is school in session?
No, school's back. School's back in
School's back.
session. Yeah,
Okay.
winter break is over. So because
Okay.
we're looking at February. So yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow, would you be willing to put me in touch with this Mr. Wilkes?
I don't know, but here, and she takes a paper and she writes down, Caleb Wilkes, philosophy department. If you just bring this to the front desk of the philosophy building, they should be able to direct you to him.
Okay. Does she seem put off by the request?
She has given you a vibe, right? So we've gone from her acting like she didn't really know your father well, that she gave you the impression that the first time she met him is when he came to the archive. You've
Right.
now kind of caught her in a little bit of a lie. And she goes, oh yeah, the first time I met him was at this fundraiser. She doesn't appear to want you to think she knows Caleb, but I'll be honest with you, I think you're getting a bit of a fog from her.
Right.
I don't think as a reporter, we don't need a role for this. I don't know how much you trust this woman right now, especially after, I think you were fine until you saw her trying to give.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't necessarily know if it's a question of not trusting her. It just seems like, I don't know, she seems put off, I guess, I can't really think of her. Just kind of annoyed by.
She's not annoyed. She's more agitated, busy,
okay.
Straightening up papers as she's talking to you, not maintaining eye contact.
So
with you.
in a nervous way.
Yeah.
Like she feels like she's been found out.
I don't know if you know that, but you definitely, she is uncomfortable right now. I think that I think you definitely can pick up.
Okay.
If you want to try to get a better sense of that, we can talk about that as another role.
No,
but
I think
this is all for
I'll
free.
I'll let it ride.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I certainly did not intend to in any way put you out of sorts or interrupt your work. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and I'll be on my way.
Did he give you anything? And it's like a Columbo moment, right? You're like almost out the door, and she just out of nowhere breaks your exit by saying, did he give you anything?
No. He was supposed to. He was supposed to in the morning, but that all changed overnight.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. And I will make my exit. I want to go back to the main circulation desk. And I want to ask the librarian there about where's the ancient history section?
Okay. I'm happy that she gives you directions.
Mm-hmm. I want to start looking through Greek, Roman, Mesoamerican. I'm just casting a really wide net, but I'm like, is anything in here matching what these symbols look like?
Oh, okay. We want to look into the symbols. I like this.
Yeah,
I like this. Would it be fair to say you may have sketched those? Maybe have that on one of your pads of paper, or you?
I don't know if it made enough. I'm doing it from memory because I don't know if it would have made enough sense if there was any paradigm that would have.
Do you think if you saw those again, you'd recognize them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're definitely going to do an investigate here.
I think the note. I think he's got a pretty good memory.
Yeah.
I think the note taking sometimes is a mechanism, like
almost.
It's
rote.
sometimes to help. Yeah, it's sometimes to help his memory, but it's all. But yeah, it's rote. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that if he would know him if he saw him.
Perfect. So let's definitely do an investigate here, because you're going to spend time researching in a library in a truly Call of Cthulhu sort of way. If we were playing Call of Cthulhu, you'd do a library use roll, but that's not how this works. It's Cthulhu
Well,
Dark.
in this case, we're going to go with all three. So human,
Oh, you're going to
occupational,
risk your
and we're
mind.
gonna risk.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Before you roll,
Oh, I just did. Sorry.
That's a beautiful roll. I love that roll. So, real quick,
Okay.
I do want to understand the motivation here. So, we know mechanically we're rolling the insight die, which means you are really pushing things, and you're opening yourself up here. Why is that as you're going through and looking at stacks in the library?
Because this has got to make sense somehow. Maybe he came across in his philanthropic dealings. Maybe he talked to somebody. Maybe somebody tried to, I don't know, pitch him on an expedition somewhere. There's got to be a rational explanation for why these symbols are on the wall, and they don't look modern by any stretch of the imagination. So, and somebody like Joseph, who is very much grounded in the realistic, and he goes to the movies, he listens to the Shadow on the radio, but he doesn't have a broad, vivid imagination.
So that 4 is the only thing better would be a 5. So
Okay.
You're going to get a lot here. And if it's all right with you, I'm going to have you spend the bulk of the afternoon doing this. Yeah. So you go back.
So I've got time to kill. They want me back
till
at
this
the house
evening.
at 7:00.
Yep. So you go through. You get to the ancient history section. Flipping through a ton of books. Mesopotamia, just any of these old things, and you're just not finding anything as you're flipping through, looking at stuff. But you realize, maybe there's a different section I should go to, and you go into more into a section that covers some arcania, more lore and ancient tales, and
So, but I would imagine it would be kind of a logical progression.
yeah,
Like maybe from history to mythology and folklore.
yeah.
And
I mean, there's books missing, right, everywhere you look.
Okay.
But you get to one section, and you're seeing a block of empty shelf here.
Mhm.
And it's in the books surrounding it are talking about ancient folklore, magic, things like that. And there's a bulk of books that were next to each other that are no longer there.
Okay.
And I think with that 4, you instinctively know to go to the card catalog. Stay with us, children. You go to the
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
You pull out these long drawers.
Yeah.
And you find these books that are missing by sheer Dewey Decimal context of what was missing here.
Right.
And it is an entire series of ancient books on rituals. You have all of the titles. There's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
And they're all gone.
And there's no indication because, the card catalog, you wouldn't track who's borrowing books based on the card catalog. It would be the insert inside the book itself.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure they would have a record of it. Right. So if these were all taken out, but I do need an insight roll from you though, because your highest die, that 4 was your insight die. So give me an insight roll. Your current insight is 3. And it remains 3 because you have to roll higher than your current insight in order to tick it up. So you stay at 3. So yeah, you have figured out the 7 book titles. They're all pertaining to different forms of ancient lore related to rituals. And
any particular culture or
seems to be kind of mixed. Though it's hard to tell because all you really have is the titles.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine Joseph was raised probably something like Presbyterian or something like that. Like, very, you know, very like we go to church because we have to, because otherwise we're going to burn in hell. Um, so not a whole lot of like spiritual imagination or anything like that. Just we do this because we're obligated to. Uh, but okay, cool. So yeah, so I mean, once I feel like I've exhausted, I will go back to the main desk and ask the librarian, is there a way to tell when books were taken out last?
Do you want to get on a waiting list for them?
Possibly. I just happened to notice that there was a large a gap on the shelf, as if like several books had been all taken up at the same time, or maybe it's just coincidence.
Do you have the titles? And she reaches
Yeah.
and you hand her the paper that you jotted the
Yeah.
titles down
Yeah.
on. She goes, "Just give me a moment, son. Let me look." And she goes back into a file drawer, and she comes back and she goes, I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah, these were all checked out at the same time, and they're actually overdue. Uh, we would normally give maybe they're about 4 months overdue.
Hmm.
What I could do is if you can give me your information, I could call you when they're returned. I might.
Would you be able to tell me who it was that checked them out?
And as you say that, she covers a piece of paper that she had, realizing that she was exposing this paper to you. And
Hmm.
before her hand hits it, you see the titles of the books, you
Yeah.
see the dates of September of last
Hmm.
year,
Hmm.
and all of them are checked out by C. Wilkes, C. Wilkes, C. Wilkes,
Oh.
C. Wilkes. Let's go to credits.
Okay.
All right, we are back, Craig. So, what we always normally like to do is I like to get thoughts, stars, and wishes after
Okay.
each session. This is something I took from the Gauntlet podcast and the Gauntlet group led by Jason Cordova. There's is stars and wishes. I've added
Hmm.
thoughts. So, thoughts are
Okay.
strictly at a meta level mechanically. Like,
Hmm.
you've engaged with some of the mechanics. How do you feel about it? I know that you've read Cthulhu Dark before we played. So, I'd like to get your thoughts on the system as much as we've engaged it so far. So stars are going to be the moments in today's session that you really liked, that's kind of stuck with you. If tomorrow someone asked you, did you play, I heard you played Cthulhu Dark last night, what is the two things you might tell them about that really have, like, stay with you? And then wishes are things that you loved that you want more of, or things that you didn't get that you're hoping to see later. But
Hmm.
before we do all of that, you are a designer of games. So let's talk a little bit for those that might want to explore what's available from you. Let's talk briefly about your game and where they can find out more about it.
So the game that I designed is called Shadowlight and Persona. It is available on my itch page, craighatler.itch.io. It is released under Creative Commons. It is pay what you want. The basic game is currently available. It is a game of exploring supernatural weirdness, a la in a very kind of anthology short form format, a la Twilight Zone. I always very one of the earliest things that I can remember really fueling my imagination. Um, and yeah, basically it's everybody sits down at the table, you decide what kind of game you want to play, and it exists as a unique universe within a larger omniverse, which is every possible shadow-like game that's ever been played exists in a continuity with kind of a meta layer on top that organizes the omniverse and provides some details on the supernatural, but is very open-ended, intended to be very open-ended and highly collaborative.
Yeah, very cool. And in a future episode, because we've already recorded it, I interview you for
Yes,
on Tabletop Talk. So if you don't listen to the
yes,
podcast, it's Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars on all the podcatchers. Sub to it now so you can hear my interview with Craig when that comes out. All right, so
yes.
let's start with thoughts.
Okay. Thoughts are, I love the system is fantastic. I think it is so minimalistic and so just it's what you need, and it has that thing that moves the fiction forward. There's no empty roles, there's no meaningless roles. It's just razor sharp.
Yeah, and we haven't had a chance to do an other role yet. So mechanically, what happens if we do something outside of the mechanical for the
Mhm.
investigate role? There's there is an opportunity to fail. So,
Right.
and I'm sure that's going to happen. But that's also interesting as well. You're at an insight 3, which at first seems like, oh my god, I'm already halfway to 6.
Mhm.
But typically things slow down as far as the escalation because it's harder to roll higher as your insight goes up. And
Right.
something that I didn't realize until I played this game a few times is it is the exact counterpart to the sanity death spiral of Call of Cthulhu. Because in Call of
Okay.
Cthulhu, as your sanity goes down, it gets easier to miss your sand
Okay.
rolls, right? Because the value of your sanity is getting lower, and it creates
Right.
a bit of a sanity death spiral. Because as you're losing sanity, it's easier to fail, and
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that. But it's interesting how just at a very basic level, this is the exact opposite, which is as your mind is expanding, as you're getting more aware
You're
of.
you're teetering you're teetering on the
Yeah.
precipice.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's really neat. And when you get to Insight 5, we're going to talk about another mechanic that
Okay.
allows you to lower your insight. But you're not going to get to 5. We're not going to get that far. You're going to be fine. So all right, so that's thoughts. Stars, what stuck out for you, Craig? What worked?
Um, so the first is um, as soon as I said that Dad always kept the door to the study open, and you said it was closed, I was like, "Oh fuck." Oh. The whole thing with the captain, him, being there and not there, and being this, the whole thing about, oh, we'll make sure that you're paid. Like, what the that just come completely out of left field. Like,
Any
my
idea what's
dad
going
just
on
died.
there? Like I know
Nope,
Joseph doesn't,
nope,
but does Craig have any idea what's going on
nope.
there? No.
No, zero. Just and
Yeah.
and and why would you even bring that up? It's like I'm not hiring you. You're not a private detective or a bounty hunter. I'm not like hiring you, and you're not hiring. I like it's just so random. Um, and then um, the whole thing about um, the when Joseph said, um, "I guess I should spend the night here," and him not really knowing why,
Mm,
like because I don't even know why.
yeah. That's
I
listening to the
just it
character.
was just it was as a matter of course. I was like, I should just spend the night. I was like, I'm here by myself. I whether I go home or stay here, it doesn't really matter. But it was yeah. So those were my stars, and I recognized that one of them was of myself, but I guess I'm allowed to give myself stars. So
Well, it's not handing out stars like candy here. What we're talking about is moments that really stuck with us, right? Things
uh,
that when you think about the session tomorrow, these are the things you're going to remember that have impact. And what that and just for full disclosure, the purpose from a GM perspective on stars and wishes is stars tells me what works for you as a player, right?
mm,
So I log that, right? Because
okay,
what you're doing is you're saying I want I like that. And that tells me as a GM that I need to think about those moments and why those work so well for you and incorporate that back in as a good player at the table along with you. Even more transparent are the wishes, right? So what you're doing with wishes is saying, hey, Craig, really like this. I want more of this. And hey, Craig, kind of hoping to see this later. So let's talk about wishes.
So my wishes are that we're definitely going down the road of the ritualistic and the otherworldly and the strange, but I still would like it to not be too like giant tentacle monster comes out of our tear in time and space. Like I think as much as I am loath to say the words grounded in reality, because there's entirely too much reality. But I think I would like to see it more on the lines of that rather than some of the more bizarre
Sure.
Cthulhu stuff.
You would be
More of the same.
disappointed if a Shaggoth showed up.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
More of the same. I mean, it is for sure. And I think that's really that's
That's
it.
great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. So the beautiful part is all of the two of us and everybody else only has to wait a week. So we're going to be back same time, same channel, a week from today. So we'll see you then. Craig, it was a pleasure. I can't wait to play again, man.
You too. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.